Blessed Friday. Hello. Come on in, y'all. I think I might have it figured out. Come on in, y'all. Come on. I know it may not be a lot, but we gonna get there. God's grace, we'll get there in His time, not mine. And I'm all right with that. I'll wait. I'm probably just going to get started in about a minute or two. I'm going to repeat everything I said yesterday because I had to delete that live. I don't know what happened, but we're going to try again today. Good morning, everybody. Come on in. Come on in. Good morning. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let me move to where my notebook is, my trusty notebook. And get started on this Naziah Harris thing. Now, as I stated before, many people have covered this story. And all props to them. All props to them. But I want to put my own spin on it. I want to say what I want to say about it. I haven't always agreed with everyone's perspective. And frankly, I'm entitled to my own perspective. A lot of people who appreciate my voice and my perspective, my way of looking at things, have asked me, Sean B., start your own channel. Sean B., when you gonna start your own channel? So I have. And I'm in the beginning stages of it. Yes, I am. Thank God. I'm in the beginning stages of it. Good morning, guys. Can y'all say good morning? Speak to your neighbor. Tell me where y'all coming in from. And let's get this thing going, right? Because what happened in those other babies, when they were indeed babies, was wrong. Point blank, period. And the people who allowed it to happen, meaning the aunts, the mamas, the grandmamas, who knew what was happening and did not protect these babies, deserve charges as well. Hello, Bark is Life. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Let me know where y'all calling from. Tell me where y'all calling from or where y'all, chatting from. I haven't set up the StreamYard yet. I really, frankly, haven't had that many people to set up a StreamYard. However, if any of you ever let me know that you would like to come up, Antarctica, stop playing. That's funny. Thank you for that laugh this morning. If any of my followers ever let me know that they would like to come up on a panel, I will create a StreamYard so that you can. I'm open to that any day, every day. Can y'all please like the video while you're here? I'm really not speaking about anything that's controversial. I would like to think that if you've subscribed to my channel, it started as Naziah Harris and what happened to her. And so I would like to think that, all of my subscribers, at least on this story, is like-minded. But if you're not, that's fine. That's fine. On my platform, I will not block or hide any comments as long as they're respectful. We can agree to disagree. We can disagree. But as long as you disagree respectfully, comments will flow. Okay? We are grown people here. We should not have to be told how to behave. I just want everybody to be respectful. You are so dumb. Okay. You'll be blocked. Okay. There you go. See? Just that simple. Right? I won't have the disrespect by any means. I won't have the disrespect. So that person. And if any of my moderators come in, make sure that Barker Fam 6 never comes back on my platform ever again. Okay? There's no reason for that. You take your wickedness somewhere else. All right? So, again, good morning, everybody. Blessings. Blessed Friday. I'm glad God blessed you as he did all of us to wake up this morning. Please give glory to your highest power. And I'm going to get started. Naziah Harris was a child who needed protection. What she received was silence. You're sick right now. Well, what's wrong, love? Maybe I can offer some suggestions on how to get better. What's your, why are you sick? What do you mean, babe? Okay. That's funny you should say that, just to pivot for a second to give my audience some attention. My son and I are currently on a natural regimen where we drink in the morning our pineapples and apples and oranges and lemons to rid our bodies of parasites that everybody has, right? Just because we eat meat. And some people that are not eating meat, they are vegetarians, but they may not wash their food properly. And so, our bodies house these parasites. They may not make us sick, but they could be the reason for a plethora of things. And so in doing that, your body naturally starts to lose weight, and it just sheds itself of all of the impurities, Sean, get it together. Impurities in our bodies. Pineapples, apples, oranges, and lemons. The pineapple is the thing. The apples and oranges is what sweetens. It takes some of that bitterness out of it, and it kind of softens the pineapple. It softens our palate to accept the pineapple. And I'll let you guys do your research on that. Now, throughout the day, however, especially on the weekend, because my son goes to school, we do a drink of lemons, cloves, ginger, onions, garlic, and honey. And the honey is just to sweeten all of that stuff. And that does other things. It helps with arthritis, which I suffer from in the wintertime. And it helps rid the body of mucus. It helps us sleep better. It strengthens your hair. It betters and brightens your skin. And it's all natural. That's what I love about it. Are you Republican or not? Politically, I believe everybody is entitled to their own opinion. Okay. And so my political beliefs has nothing to do with my channel. Nothing at all. It has nothing to do with my channel. I am here to talk about true crime and the injustices that are committed amongst children or the voiceless, whether they be children or adults. So if that is something you're interested in, then I invite you to pull up a seat, grab your favorite morning drink, comment, share, and by all means, please like, and we'll enjoy everybody that comes in. Okay? So let me get back on track. As I said, the protection that Naziah Harris should have been given was instead replaced by silence. And silence is how this story started and continues. And when I say it continues even till today. Okay? Naziah was born September 16, 2011. She lived on the east side of Detroit with her mother and her older brother, who I believe is 4 years older than Naziah. His name is Vari. And early on, when Naziah was but a small child, her mother and Naziah's father, whose name is Marvin Jennings, who's no longer with us, who was a married man, supposedly worked alongside Naziah's mother, whose name is Kenyatta Harris, and they worked in construction home improvement field. And I guess on their downtime, they did what adults do. Right or wrong is not my point. That's how Naziah got here. And they together made the choice to give custody to Naziah's grandmother, Annette Harris. And so from that point, Annette had custody. However, one of Annette's twin daughters, Shannon, was given what would have Naziah a lot of the time. And Shannon lived in Clinton Township. And so Shannon had a boyfriend who she often, per what family members have said openly and publicly, they had a really volatile relationship. They would fight often. And if they weren't fighting, they were producing children to the number of 5. Let Shannon tell it. She claims publicly that she has 5 children by Jarvis. Butts is his name. Jarvis Ramon Butts. And some of what I'm going to say is speculatory. Most of it will be facts. And if it's not facts, it's something that the family has said openly and publicly. So back to what I was saying. Shannon would have Naziah, and Jarvis would be there. Jarvis Ramon Butts is a habitual, repeat SA offender of children. May I be more specific? Jarvis Ramon Butts did time in prison for violating a 4-year-old. Did y'all hear that? A 4-year-old. At which time that 4-year-old contracted an STD. Y'all let that sit there for a second. A 4-year-old. And then the age ranges of the other girls varied. They just varied. Because I dare say that there are, hey, precious boo. Good morning, baby. Good morning. Happy Friday to you. Thank you for joining. I don't know what happened yesterday. I deleted that live, and as you see, we're starting over, boo. I'm learning, and people are telling me don't get discouraged. It's a lot to learn, and it's a lot to take in, and just be patient. So I'm just asking that you guys be patient with me and go on this journey with me, and we're gonna be all right. Okay. Thank you, boo, for being here. Good morning. So, maybe once my daughter is done with my granddaughter, she'll join us. She's also a moderator, and so she'll be in here shortly. Precious, okay? So you won't have to do all this work by yourself with all two of y'all. And I'm not even mad. I don't care if it's one person in here. I'm going to get this story out, and we're going to have fun doing it. And that's just that. We'll grow as we go. How about that? So I was speaking about Mr. Butts here, right? Okay. So the ages of his victims who are now survivors, with the exception of baby girl Naziah, their ages vary. Why? Because no one will tell the truth. Some of these girls did become brave enough that in the 2 years that Naziah has been missing, they have been brave enough to come forward and tell their story, their victimization. And with that, he gained more charges. Now, we'll get into the charges in a minute. And so, but I dare say that there are other girls who have just chosen to just go on with their life. They don't want to be connected to this monster and, living, hopefully, God's blessings, life ever, happily ever after, right? So in the midst of it, however, Naziah's struggles began from what we understand, from what was told. It came to light with other family members, one being an auntie. And it's all over the news. You guys can research it all up and down YouTube. Her name is Janelle, for whom I have the utmost respect. Okay, she's a professional person. Her career, I believe she's a nurse, and she's a mother, and she's a wife, and I have respect for her. She got word that at a party that Shannon was throwing, that some of the girls were complaining that this monster touched them and it hurt. And so she called Shannon and had words with Shannon. Shannon said, I'll take care of it. Shannon instead called her mother. And her mother said, I'll take care of it. Well, a little bit of time, a few days go by. I think it was about a week. And Janelle asked Shannon, well, what happened? Well, what was told was the girls lied because they were mad at him because he was supposed to give them some money and he didn't give it to them. Janelle said, no, you got me messed up. I'm not holding that. I'm not holding that. I'm calling CPS. And so her with another family member, they called CPS. She's on the news as well. They called CPS. They made a report. A little bit more time go by. She checks in with the authorities and find out, well, nothing found here. Low risk. It was classified as low risk. And she's like, well, wait a minute. What do you mean low risk? These babies have been touched. So she started doing some research and things of that nature and find out that not only was this claim made, but that this monster has track record of doing that very thing, violating little girls. And when I say little girls, I'm saying that to put every female under the legal age, under that one umbrella. If you're not legal age, you're a little girl to me. Okay. My daughter's a grown-ass woman, and I still call her little girl. But that's just, a term of endearment between me and my boo. But anyway, so when I say little girl, it's a term of endearment because that's who these babies were. They were little girls. They were not teenagers. They were not young ladies. They were not women. They were little girls. And see, that was one of the things that made me want to tell this story, because I was quite disturbed when I heard people calling Naziah a young lady. She was not a young lady. She was a little girl. Okay? Naziah was a little girl. A young lady is someone that's maybe in college. Okay? Maybe even junior, senior in high school. But an 11-year-old is not a young lady. She's a little girl. So anyway, when they got the response that they got from CPS, they were not satisfied. They were not going to let this go. So after speaking to some people, I think they even went and spoke to the family, you know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, no. So they call the police. When they call the police, they find out the details and stipulations of this monster's parole. And they find out, unfortunately, that his stipulations did not, yes, Precious, they all failed that baby. Yes, they did. And they failed all of them. Some of the mamas, you know what I mean? I even dare say the community, you know what I mean? Because I believe some community intervention should have been applied, if you understand what I'm saying. You feel me? So anyway, they speak to some folks. They find out that his stipulations did not entail that he could not be around children. Now, I dare say that that's a problem with Michigan. That is a problem with any of these states that knows what a person has spent time in prison, not jail, prison, for having been convicted. And you don't make that a stipulation for the duration of the time that this person walks free. I had a problem with that, you lawmakers. You need your jobs snatched from you over decades ago. You never should have been able to walk back in the door with those kind of perimeters on the books. It's ridiculous. So, moving forward, let me say this right quick, Precious, because I believe you're the only person that's still in here with me, and I love you for that, boo. If this cuts off at the half-hour mark, I'm going to come right back, because I believe that's what happened yesterday. Okay, let me know. One person. Am I in here by myself? Okay. If this cuts off at the half-hour mark, I'm going to do another live. I'm going to come right back. So anybody who logs off, come back if you want. I'll be here. So anyway, so then that's when more family members got involved, and they're like, wait, no, this is unacceptable. So then that's when Janelle and other family members started taking it to different platforms. And when I say different platforms, I'm not only talking about YouTube. I'm talking about news reporters and things of that nature. They did multiple interviews with news reporters and got the word out there. And so now we fast forward from 2022 to 2024. Now, that 2022, there's a significance to that year. But here we are now in 2024 when Neziah comes up missing. And there is some questions about whether or not she really disappeared in January or did she disappear in December. And I believe had this case gone to trial, that question would have been cleared up. Because during the preliminary hearing, it raised more questions than it answered. Because they didn't show the gauntlet of text messages that they had between Neziah and Jarvis. The preliminary hearing was merely to create a trail. It was to lock people in. Hey, boo-boo. Hey, boo. Good morning, Stink. All right. Precious, that's my daughter. Boo-boo, that's Precious I was telling you about this morning. So yeah, the preliminary hearing created more questions than it answered anything. And so a lot of people was like, well, why didn't they ask this and why didn't they ask that? And I get it. Because in my opinion, and many others, there were times when it's like, wait, don't move on from that. Just ask one more question. Why wouldn't you say, this or that? You know what I mean? And so I understand everybody's frustration in the moment of watching that preliminary hearing and all those different testimonies. Some stuff, it was plain and simple that some of the people up on the stand was clearly playing in our face. So, but they did show that text messages went all the way back. As from what they showed, they went back to 2022. And when I say these text messages sound like something it was cringing. I cringed when I heard the conversations. I cringed, and I will not repeat them. But they were disgusting. They were inappropriate for him to be having with this little girl because she was 11 at the time. It was disgusting what Neziah was exposed to. It was disgusting the access that Jarvis was given to this little girl. It was just, and when I say the access, I'm talking about her aunt. I'm talking about Neziah's grandmother. And when I say access, I am saying that they literally would send Neziah, as well as other little girls from that household, up to that dingy grease spot that Jarvis called a business. They would send them up there. Just the girls, though. Just the girls, not the boys. And so my question was always, why? Why? That's a perfect place because, a lot of people don't think that a boy's place is in the kitchen to learn how to wash dishes, right? To learn how to clean up behind himself. I don't agree with that. I'm just stating a fact. And so that grease spot, that hole in the wall, that dilapidated looking crap was a perfect place for his sons. Yeah, his sons to learn how to clean up and work on cars and be around their dad. You know what I mean? Just hang with the fellas. Boo-boo said, right, the shop is a good place for the boys. Exactly, right? But no, he never asked for the boys. He asked for the girls. And anyone within the sound of my voice, please never mention the other girls' names if you know them. I am not here to further exploit them. I never agreed when their names were said in these last 2 years. I didn't agree with that at all. And just me saying that there were more victims is enough. Okay? So thanks, guys. So that right there was eye raising, right? Like, why are you only asking for the girls? And nobody and nothing can convince me that they didn't notice that. Like, you never asked for the boys. Why? Right? But then come to find out, there were other family members who accused family members of being inappropriate with them. So, go figure, right? Go figure. Go figure. He got right in where he fit in at. You understand me? It's like a player can recognize a player from a mile away, right? A player can recognize his next victim a mile away. And that's what he did. And they did too, right? Okay. So he saw there was no men around that house. He learned that Naziah's father was not in her life. He learned that the only male that was in that house personal preference was different than his. And then from what has been reported during interviews, even he was allowed to leave the home at a very early age or a minor age. He certainly was not an adult, because let that person who told that story say they had to go to the grandmother to get the permission for them to be together and for her son to move out. Okay? And that guy who gave that interview, his name is Kenny. Yeah. So anyway, and he gave that interview. I'm going to give clout where it's due. He gave that interview on Miss Parker's panel. Live on camera. He said that he and Annette's son went to Annette to get permission for him and her son to be together and for him to move out and move in with him. So a grown man don't need permission last time I checked. Okay, so that's where I made that connection, right? So Jarvis noticed there were no men around. And see, that is a monster's dream. Oh, he rubbed them hands together and said, oh yeah, this is going to be easier than I thought. Okay? This is going to be easier than I thought. Oh, I got this. You know, I'm going to give her a couple of babies, pay her some attention. You know what I'm saying? Because I dare say, that was hard on the eyes. And that's just my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. Them twins was hard on the eyes, y'all. So he said, I'm going to stomach this. And while I'm on that point, a lot of the women who came forward look like they could all be They look like they could all be related. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Some of them even look like they could be sisters. But he definitely had a type. And even the DA of Michigan said that. Even she said that. He had a type. And that type, I believe what she was implying was, they're not the most attractive. Most likely is low on self-esteem. And therefore, this light skin, pretty hair, you know, that stereotype. Oh, I'm going to have some pretty babies by him because he light skinned and got pretty hair. Yeah, okay. And that's what sucked him in. And he said, great. I knew it would. And he set out to conquer what he went in there to conquer. So this one particular day, January 9th, let Michigan tell it. Naziah was picked up by Jarvis and his slash friend slash partner, King, picked her up, took her back to the hole in the wall grease spot. And she's getting in and out of his truck. Now, I'm gonna back up a little bit because I want to bring this to the point. The last picture that was seen of Naziah with her in front of her Chromebook, iPad, school pad, whatever, they call them there in Michigan, she was waving. And per the lighting, I don't know if that was a dark blue hoodie or a black hoodie, right? I'm just not sure, but it was a hoodie nonetheless, dark color. She had on a white turtleneck, and the grandmother testified on the stand during the prelim that she had on blue jeans, blue and white Nikes, okay? Shannon testified on stand that with that, she wore the Rugrats coat with the fur around the hood. So then when she came up missing, someone that lived on their street brought forward their Ring doorbell camera footage, and on which you see this female walking by. And now, in the picture at school, Naziah had two puffballs, a braid that came from one side of her forehead down the other side that hung, and it looked like she had some little white beads on it. She had a braid that came out of one of the puffballs on the side. Oh man, Naziah was so pretty. She was so precious. She really was. However, this female that's walking by on this camera footage, I dare say, is not Naziah. And again, that is what the trial, I believe, would have opened up. There was no timestamp on this frozen shot of the camera footage. There was no timestamp. It was simply Michigan saying that was Naziah. That's all it was. There was no timestamp. There was no proof. And I say that, and I hope y'all picking up what I'm putting down. Michigan was full of crap. They put out a narrative, and then they drop little kibbles and bits and crumbs and stuff, and hope that people would believe with a whole bunch of being gullible and just believe whatever they put out there. And some people did. I, on the other hand, will never believe that was Naziah. And I'll tell you why. If she never went home, where's the book bag? Oh, wait. If she never went home, where's the Rugrat coat with the fur around the collar? Where is it? If she never went home, how did she change clothes? Because that crap that they found at the River Rouge was a pink onesie, a red and white Nike, and supposedly the black hoodie. The hoodie that they showed at the prelim was indeed black. And I say that with assurance. It was indeed black. And that's how they described it. It had some damage done to the hood of the hoodie. And we're supposed to believe that that's what contributed to her demise. We're supposed to believe that. I feel like a lot of people believe them, but I will never believe them at all either. I know that's right, boo-boo. So that hoodie was made of the material like a sweater, a tightly woven sweater. It was not sweatsuit material. Okay, like it wasn't Nike or any of those. It was a tightly woven, like if you take a needle and cut one thread, you could pull it and it'll just become unraveled. It was that kind of material. And there was damage done to the hood, and only the hood. It wasn't stretched. It wasn't disfigured. It wasn't, torn at the bottom. The string was still in it. All of that. It was just a couple of holes in the hood of this hoodie. Okay. So if that was Naziah on that ring footage, where are those items? Because that jacket that female was wearing walking on that footage, it was a jacket. It was tight and it was around her waist. And I dare say she was not wearing black and white Nikes. And if that ain't good enough for you, what happened to the damn puffballs? Because Naziah had puffballs that day. If what Michigan says that was her last day, Naziah had puffballs. That female on that footage did not. Her hair was tied with a scarf. Tightly. You're not doing that with puffballs. Well, you can, but that wasn't. You could clearly see that there were no puffballs. There was no braids hanging out, none of that. Albeit grainy, it was, but you could see what you could see. And as grainy as it was, I could still see that there were no puffballs. So again, per what they found at River Rouge, they're trying to make us believe no matter what the grandmother said on the stand, this pink onesie and these red and white and black Nikes is what Naziah was wearing. But wait a minute now. That's not what the grandmother said. And see, that's another reason why the trial would have been Naziah Harris getting justice. Okay, let's move forward. That I was just saying, that's why I don't believe that was her on that camera. So now, as I was saying, the monster and his partner, pun intended, picked up Naziah and took her back to the oily spot, the hole in the wall, the dilapidated building that they called a business connected to a store owned by an Arab, an Arabian man. Okay. And Jarvis's sister was there to have the vehicle that she was driving looked at by Jarvis. She said it was driving funny. She too took the stand and they asked her, why were you there? And that's what she said. I wanted my brother to look at this car. Now, she said while she's sitting there, hold on one second, y'all. She said while she's sitting there, she see this little girl keep jumping in and out of her brother's truck. And she said she sat there for a little bit and she's just jumping in, jumping out, going in the store, coming back, going in the shop, coming back. The truck is running, at which time, at some point, the truck ran out of gas. Now, it's at the shop, but I'm assuming it wasn't near the gas tanks, because people got to pull up and get their own gas. So they had to push it over there and put some gas in it because he left the truck running because, per my research and Tootie from Tootie Reacts, who I have much respect for, research, we saw that on January 9th of 2024, the weather was 33 degrees in Detroit, Michigan. So yeah, he left the truck running, keep baby girl warm. Yeah. So The sister's sitting there like, "Arr." So, it was never cleared up whether or not Jarvis ever looked at the sister's vehicle. It was never stated. And see, that's what I mean by stuff was just scammed over, which I believe they could have gone more in depth during the trial. And so she goes home. And Jarvis, his counterpart, and Neziah drive to Ypsilanti because his counterpart had been working on his son's grandmother's Jag. They had to return it. They were done with it. And so they get there, and King's son's aunt also took the stand. And there was some question about her testimony because she said King was driving a truck where King said he owned a 300. Now, I dare anybody to tell me, when did Chrysler make a 300 truck? I'll wait. That's what I thought. They don't, right? So then, I don't know if she misspoke, but they didn't even give her, that was one of the times when we like, well, wait. Ask her, is she sure? Was he driving a truck or was he driving a car? Because see, words matter, right? I know that's right, boo-boo. Never, she said, never. I know that's right. Words matter. Someone is missing and presumed gone forever. So words matter. And you got this woman up on the stand having raised her hand to an oath, and you won't lock her in on what she's saying, but y'all want the truth. Y'all are going to get justice for Neziah, huh? Really? Okay. So, but what did they do? They skim on past it. And everybody like, wait, no, because Chrysler never made a truck. So then some people was like, oh, she lying. She in on it too. I chose to believe that she just misspoke. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times I would say to my husband, it's in the car, knowing he drove a Tahoe. You see what I'm saying? So I chose to be more objective about it. Right? I say to my daughter who has a truck, you in the car? You see what I'm saying? So I chose to be more objective. I chose not to hold her feet to the fire about saying truck. But I did want to make that distinction because as far as I'm concerned, everybody's guilty. Why? Because everybody saw this little girl with these two grown men and said nothing. Until the boys was knocking at the door. That's when everybody had something to say, except for Jarvis's sister. Okay? What happened with Jarvis's sister, and I may have some stuff out of chronological order, but I believe I can complete my point. Jarvis' sister said, and I think her name is Tiana. I may be wrong, but I know it starts with the T. And her last name is Butts as well. She said that she was at home and she believed it was the next day or maybe 2 days later, something like that. And one of the other baby mamas, and I say baby mamas because that's what they said, called her and said, have you seen the news? And she said, wait, what? What do you mean? She said, girl, Shannon's niece is missing. And she like, wait, what? She said, Shannon's niece is missing. She said, what she look like? So she said, girl, go watch it. It's all over the news and it's on YouTube too. So she goes, she looks wherever she looks and she sees the little girl. So she says she immediately went back up to the shop. Oh, wait, I missed one point. She said she asked Jarvis at the shop that day when Neziah was there, When Jarvis came over to her vehicle to speak to her to ask her, what's up, sis? She said, who was that little girl? Jarvis lied and said that's King's niece. Now, if you're not doing anything wrong, why are you lying, sir, Mr. Monster? Why are you lying? Okay? Now, sister knows that her brother is a monster, and that's the only thing that I hold her feet to. Why didn't you say to your brother, what's she doing here with you? I don't care who this child belonged to, right? I know she's not one of my nieces. I know she's not one of your children that I know about. But why is she here with you, sir? When you know your background, when you know what you're liable to do, when you know I know what you do. That's what I feel like the sister should have said to him. But she did not testify that she indeed said that. That's the one thing that kind of gave me the side eye of the sister. Because I hold my brothers accountable. You know what I'm saying? I hold my people accountable. If you know you don't have no business doing that, why you doing that, sir, ma'am? Okay? Brother, sister, daughter, son, mama, grandmother, auntie, uncle, I don't care. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And she should have said that to him, but she didn't. At least she didn't testify to having said that. So she said she went up there, she spoke to King like King. Who was that little girl that was with y'all the other day? And he said that was Jarvis' niece. And she said, wait, what? He said, yeah, that's Shannon's niece. She said, he told me that was your niece. King said, no, she's not. She said, okay. So she said she went back home and she called Shannon to ask Shannon for some details. And Shannon confirmed that Naziah was indeed missing. And the sister said she got the detective's information right. She sure should have, like you said, know who her brother is. And she's a mother. So I agree. I know that's right, Bobo. So she said she went back home. She called the detective, spoke to the detective, and told the detective what she saw. So now her name is on the list for the investigation. And so now we move on to the day that Naziah came up missing. A few days before that, however, let me back up just one point. Jarvis had court for some previous stuff. I think it was a GUN charge. And at which time, a lot of people are stuck on the fact that he told the judge, I need to come back. That's just not how court works. Okay. So let me state the obvious. Jarvis did not tell the judge anything. Jarvis spoke to his lawyer, public defender or otherwise, and that his representative spoke to the judge and asked the judge for a continuance. Okay? Another reason why I wanted to do this. Because people, in my opinion, got so stuck on the small little nuances that, come on, y'all, really? Y'all really think that the judge listened to Jarvis? Jarvis did not tell the judge anything. Now, if the judge asked him, Mr. Butts, is that true? You have another court appearance in another part, or, concerning some other blah, blah, blah. And Jarvis may have said, yes, sir. But all I'm stating is Jarvis didn't tell and he just got what he wanted. No, he had a representative. Everyone has to. It's a court of law. Everyone has to have representation. If you don't, it will not happen that day until you do. All right. So with that being said, he gets the continuance. He was supposed to be turning himself in on that GUN charge, right? Because he had violated his parole. Now, see, that's where Michigan really got stuff in life messed up. Oh, he's violated if he has a GUN, possession of one. But he could be around kids, which is why he's on parole in the first place. Make it make sense. So that's why I say this country is truly diabolical. This country is truly diabolical. How are you law enforcement? How are you setting laws and you allow something like this? Y'all are sick. If y'all think that that's okay. This man could be around kids and that is his one kryptonite. They wouldn't let Superman be in the same room with kryptonite. Because that was his one, what? Weakness. But Jarvis, one weakness, oh, he could be around all that. Diabolical. Wicked. Dark. Nasty. So, but the judge grants the continuance. He grants it. A lot of us dare say it's because he needed that time to do what he did with Neziah. Because the next day, or a few days later, is when Neziah comes up missing. A lot of people think that he discarded her while leaving Ypsilanti, that she's somewhere up there. A lot of people feel like King knows exactly what happened to Neziah, and they feel like he'll lie for the monster because while King was on the stand, this milk dud head looking son of a puppy had the audacity to say, I don't see him anywhere. You know how they say, do you know who Jarvis Butts is? Yes, I do. How do you know Jarvis Butts? We're partners in business. How long have you known him? A few years. Did y'all ever have disagreements or fallouts or fights? Sure we did. Okay, can you tell me, do you see Jarvis Butts anywhere in the courtroom today? This fool with bifocals on his nose had the audacity to say, no, I don't see him. I don't see him. They said, well, do you need to stand up? Which was a clear indication that you could stop lying to us, sir. He's sitting right there. You know what I mean? Like, don't do that to yourself, right? He doubled down and said, like I said, I don't see him. Wow. Now, I will say he did get his hair cut. Jarvis did get his hair cut. When he first got arrested, he had the two braids on the side, plaits, albeit raggedy, albeit needing to be washed and greased and rebraided, that raggedy look that men carry. And so that day of the prelim, he had his hair cut. But I don't care. All of my sons had long hair, all of them. And when they got their hair cut, guess what? They still look the same, just with shorter hair. So miss me with the bullshit, milk dud. Okay? All right. Tell it, boo-boo. So that's why some people believe that King had something to do with the disappearance of Neziah, because what are you protecting, sir? What are you protecting? Okay. He's off the stand now. So now Shannon is claiming that they're putting out flyers and they're making phone calls and all of this kind of stuff. Well, y'all, listen to her. Neziah didn't come home from school on the 9th. Her grandmother, who loved her so much, didn't get up off her wide ass and go to the police station at all. Let me start there. The grandmother, the mama, neither auntie got up and went to a police station at all. At no time. When Neziah first went missing, when Neziah didn't come home from school, you know where she went, the grandmother and the mother? They went up to the school the next day. You heard what I said. The grandmother and Neziah's mama, lady is her nickname, went to the school the next day. The next day. This thing loved her granddaughter so much that she was able to lay down and go to sleep all night long. Because I dare say, if you couldn't sleep, why wasn't your AZZ up at a police station somewhere? Yeah? Why not? Why weren't you there, ma'am? Yes, when I first heard they went to school and not the police, the next day was crazy. I would have been at the police station that day. Because she claimed on stand that if Neziah got out of school at 2:50 or whatever, Neziah was walking through the door by 3:05. Come on now. Hello, somebody. Once my love, my beloved, is not walking through the door in a timely fashion and it's cold outside, man, listen here. I'm in the window. I'm on the porch. I'm in my car. I'm driving the route. I'm calling the school while I'm driving the route. You need to answer to me. I need some clarification and some validation as to why the hell my baby ain't walked through the door. No, she ain't do that. I'm going to tell you what she did. What had happened was, what was testified to on stand, when the grandmother pulled up. Now, y'all hear what I'm saying, and I'm going to see if y'all pick up what I'm putting down, okay? When the grandmother pulled up, now, mind you, she ain't been home. She ain't been home since before the kids. And here's a little tidbit. Neziah was the only one who rode the bus. Why the other kids ain't ride the bus? See, Vari done ran away. He was so done with that household. Vari gone. Vari done ran away. Her older brother. He gone. So the grandmother has been gone from the house. Her testimony, not mine. She said. So she's been gone from the house since before Neziah was even due to get home from school. However, it's after 6 o'clock now, and she's picked up the other kids from their after school program. At which time, per the testimony, the grandmother sent one of her grandkids to ask Shannon at the door, because now Shannon's at the door. Didn't Neziah get home yet? What y'all think about that? I'm going to wait a minute. Let y'all think about it. What am I putting down, y'all? Y'all think about it. I got to grab some paper towels. Think about it, y'all. What I say about that is, let me see if anyone got what I was saying. What I say about that is, if you ain't been home, how the hell you know Neziah ain't home? Y'all feel me? If you haven't been home, How do you know Naziah's not home? You didn't say Shannon texted you or called you and said, Ma, Naziah ain't home from school. You never said that. And see, again, that's one of those instances during the prelim where you're yelling at the prosecutor saying, wait a minute, that's not it. I got another question. How does she know? How did she know Naziah was not home? Right. If you haven't been there, how do you know Naziah's not home? Tell me how you know that. That makes no sense. What you got, ESP? You know what I'm saying? You didn't say that you have a Ring doorbell that you watch every day, all day while you're not at home so you can see who comes in and out of your door. You didn't say that. While you was trying to push stuff when objections were made, you didn't, and you were still trying to say what you wanted to say. You didn't say that, Shannon. When objections were made, and you still want to spit out of your pie hole what you wanted to say, you didn't say that. You didn't say that. So I dare ask, how do you know? Okay. So moving forward, they go all that day without baby girl in the house. Shannon claims, and these are her words, we called Naziah's friends. They said that they didn't know where she was at. We put out flyers. And then she made a comment that has always rubbed me the wrong way. And I quote, we did everything that was asked of us to do. What? Wait a minute. Y'all are not a neighbor. You're not a neighbor. You're not someone that's part of the search party that you need to give instructions to. Right? What do you mean y'all did everything that y'all were asked to do? What do you mean by that? You supposedly love her so much. They had to ask y'all to do something. Y'all weren't the one giving out the instructions on how to find this little girl that y'all love so much. The one that the grandmother, oh, and check this out, y'all. This lady want everybody to believe, the same lady that waited till the next morning to go to the school and not the police department, that she called Naziah glamorous. First of all, that's the countryest shit I ever heard. Let me be clear. That's number one. I love you too, precious. That is the countryest crap I've ever heard in my life. Glamorous. Yes, I called her glamorous. Why, lady? Who does that? Who calls a little girl glamorous? No, lady. You call a little girl pretty. You call a little girl beautiful. You call a little girl mamas. I call my granddaughter Nana's baby. Okay? Stink butt. Stink. Lily. Mama. You don't call a little girl glamorous. Try again. You wig wearing, lizard looking. Come on now. I could go on, but I digress. So, and I know I'm tripping y'all out, but I got to get this out because I've been wanting to say this for 2 years. I've been wanting to say this for 2 years. So, she says we did everything that we were asked to do. You're pathetic. Because that child comes out of y'all's household. Okay? That child comes out of y'all's household. Why should y'all have been asked to do anything? This is the day after. Not a year later, 5 years later, 30 days later. This is the next day. Maybe within a week. Within that first week. You mean to tell me somebody had to tell y'all how to get out there and look for what's yours? You're pathetic. But I'll move on. And so that's when at some point, Shannon goes on Facebook and she posted on Facebook, and she's speaking to other family members. Yep, they slow, and may God have mercy on them. I know that's right. She goes on Facebook and she's speaking to a family member, and she's saying that Naziah's missing, and the family member says, well, where's her mother? And she's like, she's here, but she left, but she came back, and all of this. It was just a cluster mess. Because it's too early for me to really cuss like I want to. But tonight I'm going back live again and we're going to get it in, y'all. Yes. So, like I said, she's on Facebook. She's calling herself getting the word out there. She posts a flyer. She claims that she calls the monster and asks him, can I send you the flyer? Can you post it on your social media? She claims that she texted him. I believe she texted him, and said, Naziah's missing. And his response was, what? Really? Really? What? That's your response? If I text you and I say, my niece is missing, you ain't gonna call me. You're totally innocent. You're totally flabbergasted. You're not gonna, what's this texting about? You're not gonna call me like, yo, what's up? What's going on? What happened? Wait, what? You're not gonna do that? Why are you texting, Shannon? Why aren't you calling him? But then again, y'all have already demonstrated that there's no urgency in this for y'all. None whatsoever. No urgency at all. Right? Okay. So he's like, what? Okay. Time goes on. Now it's all over social media. All over social media. And the content creators is picking it up. And when that happens, the prosecutor decides, time to get in front of the camera. And this is where I got the clothing she was last wearing. And we see the picture of Naziah waving at her Chromebook, what I believe was Chromebook. And, that's when the DA said, Mr. Butts has a type. And that's when they called out to the public and said, if any of you know anything, please call us. If any of you have encountered this individual, mothers, daughters, family members, please call us. We need all the information that we can get. We welcome anyone at any time. I still believe the information that they showed was kibbles and bits, because come to find out, we found out later on that poor Naziah had gone to the office to complain about stomach pain. I'm going to let that sit there for a second. Stomach pain. She's speaking to a counselor. because apparently the nurse wasn't there that day. Can anybody reflect on what happened if they ever had stomach pain? That's right, boo-boo. Yes, and nobody did nothing. Nothing happened. See, I got phone calls. Sean B, we just want you to know that we've got your daughter down here in the office and she's complaining of stomach pains. We've allowed her to lay down, but if you'd like to come get her, Sean B, we got your son down here and he's complaining. And so as a parent, you say to yourself, self, now listen, it's about 75, 80 degrees outside. It's Friday. It's my kid trying to get home early. Do I just let them lay on that couch and catch the bus home? Because are they playing in my face? They gaslighting the hell out of this damn office. Yes, right? Or do I go jump in the ride, go get my kid? Now, I said I got phone calls. Like my daughter said, she get calls and emails. Exactly, right? Well, apparently, this good for nothing ass school didn't even call the grandmother. At least that's what they want us to believe. But I am also willing to believe that they did. But because they never gave a damn about Naziah, why should they start that day? She could ride the bus home. Ain't nothing wrong with her. When actually, that's the day Naziah came up missing. Yeah. Yeah. But see, where this school is concerned, oh, they dropped the ball so many times where Naziah was concerned. They dropped the ball so many times. Number one, they marked her present in school on the 10th. How? If she went missing on the 9th. Oh, so what? She showed up for school, but she didn't show up at home? Bullshit. Okay. Number two, do y'all have any idea how many times Jarvis pulled up at that school? To pick up Naziah and his daughter from school? Let that sink in. Do y'all know one of those times when he pulled up at school? I don't know where on the property they were sitting, but wherever they were, reportedly, Naziah was seen in a bent down position. And when the school official, the school faculty member saw that and made them aware that she saw that, Naziah sat up, jumped out the truck and ran to her and said, please don't tell my grandmother. Please don't tell my grandmother. And she's like, well, who is that? And Naziah lied and said that was her father. Did they take their suspicions even further? No. But see, that's another one of those things that would have come out in trial because they could have walked that down. Speaking, they could have, I dare say, whoever they put up on the stand during the prelim was doomed to be called back again, right? To go further into details, because that's what the trial is for the details, right? The crooks and the crannies of it all. We gonna unearth and we're gonna puree all these kibbles and bits, okay? We're gonna wring it out right here on the stand, right here in the courtroom. That's what the trial is for, right? So we never found out specifically if a report was made of the implied inappropriate behavior going on in that truck. I'm going to say that again. It was never specifically said whether or not a report was made of the witnessed inappropriate or believed inappropriate behavior happening in that truck that day. She was just told to go back to class. Okay. So during the point of the investigation, they tell her, the investigators tell the grandmother, listen, okay, listen. In this kind of situation, we often ask the family members to do a press conference, to make a plea to the public. And oftentimes it works. Not often enough, but it does work. And at first she didn't want to do it. Now, this comes from one of their officials who said this on another podcast. It was a dude podcast. But because I believe he knew more than what he was stating, I refuse to say his name. But it was him and one of the family members that was doing a podcast. So anyway, that police official came up on his panel and spoke and said that at first the grandmother ain't even want to do it. They had to threaten her with being charged with something if she didn't. And that's when she did it. I'm sorry, excuse me. When the family members first heard about inappropriate behavior at a party, they were in front of cameras. They were speaking to whomever, whenever, however. Okay? They were there in front of the cameras. This is what I was told. This is what I did. This is how I followed up. But here you are, the grandmother of the house in which this child lived, and your freedom has to be threatened in order for you to get in front of a camera? You're pathetic. You are thoroughly disgusting. And so when she did get in front of the camera, this is what, and I'm paraphrasing at this point, but this is what she says, Neziah was a good girl. She's a beautiful person. She wouldn't hurt anyone. Y'all need to bring her home. There could be something wrong with her and y'all don't even know it. Wait a minute. What do you mean by that, ma'am? Hold on. Stop the press. What do you mean by? And my girl Mocha Unfiltered, she brung this point up real strong. Often she said, what did the grandmother mean when she said there could be something wrong with her and you don't even know it? Now, side note, during the preliminary hearing, it was said that the monster, Jarvis Ramon Butts, was Googling how to get rid of a baby. But he was using the A word that ends in shun, okay? Will antifreeze, yeah, that stuff that we pour in our car, that stuff that some air conditioning companies use. Some use antifreeze, some use Freon. I know what I'm talking about. But anyway, antifreeze. Will antifreeze get rid of a baby? This is what he's Googling. They showed it. So I dare say that the grandmother knew it. And that's why she said there could be something wrong with her and you don't even know it. Huh? Pick up what I'm putting down, y'all. Because what else could she have meant by that? oh, maybe this, that she was pregnant. Neziah was pregnant. There could be something wrong with her and you don't even know it. Neziah was pregnant, y'all. Yeah. And one night during 2020, I want to say 24, but it may have been 25. I know it was cold outside. By the way, the family member and that other podcaster and his crew were dressed when they went to the Shannon's twins' boyfriend's house to speak to him. And during that whole shenanigans, on video, you could see that that family member was able to get Shannon alone in one of the rooms and they're whispering. But what you could hear Shannon say is, you want to know the truth? This is the truth. Now, people wondered for months what she meant by that. What's the truth? What do you mean by that? Well, it came out later on that supposedly Shannon told that family member, I was questioning whether or not she was pregnant. And I tried to help her get rid of it, but I found out she was not taking the medication I was giving her. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but that's the crux of what supposedly was said. And then it came out even more months later that that family member said I should have snatched her then, right? I should have snatched Shannon when I had the chance. Well, I think you should have too, family. Long before Neziah, baby. But I digress. So they leave the house, that turns into a whole, fiasco. But nonetheless, Neziah is still missing. And now interjects YouTube and content creators. And they're doing interviews. And family members are saying this and family members are saying that. And on that podcast that I just spoke about, a family member accused Shannon and her twin of having been inappropriate with her and other family members when they were children or young teenagers. Hello, somebody. That is what I meant when I said that Jarvis knew exactly where he was and how he fit in. Because on that same podcast, Shannon came up and said, when she was questioned, did you not ask him what he went to prison for? And she said, yes, he told me. He did tell me that he went to prison and what he went to prison for. And I said, if society can give him another chance, why can't I? Are you sick? This needs to be in Supreme Court. Where is that baby? Detroit playing crazy. Absolutely, Precious. Absolutely it does. Absolutely. What do you mean a freaking plea deal? How? How do you get a plea deal? How do you offer a plea deal and you're getting nothing in return? Nothing. I dare say that on the court documents of this said plea deal, the wording is that all he has to do is give a true statement about Neziah. Wait a minute. What? Are you kidding me? That doesn't state, it does not state that in order for this plea deal to be sufficient, you have to tell us where Neziah is, and we have to recover her. We have to bring her home. This screams the system trying to save themselves at Neziah's cost. Absolutely. Absolutely. Whomever just came in, can you please like if you didn't? Please. Thank you. Absolutely, that's what it screams, Precious. Absolutely. They know across the board. Because let me throw this out there as another way that they dropped the ball. When the grandmother and the mother went to the school instead of the police department, they spoke with what we today call a resource officer, right? A resource officer. And this big ass for nothing dude was about to retire. He was about to retire, y'all. So he said he went and knocked on some doors. They asked, well, whose door did you knock on? I don't remember. They said, did you write it down? No, I didn't. What else did you do? I spoke to some friends, some classmates. What classmates? I don't remember. Did you write it down? No, I did not. I made some calls. Who did you call? I don't remember. Did you write it down? No, I did not. What? So when I say big for nothing, that's why I say that. Like, dude, you really didn't care? You really did not care. You really did not care. He could not have cared less. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being he did everything that he could do, even in excess of what his job required him to do, and 1 being that he didn't care, this man was a minus 100. Yes, please put some pink and purple hearts in the comments, y'all. Some of the family members says that pink was Naziah's favorite color. Some say lavender, some say purple. Put all that in the chat, y'all, please. So this creep admitted that he did not document a damn thing. Not only did he not document it, but he took all that paperwork, stacked it up really nice and neat, and sat it over there, where it sat for damn near a month. Did y'all hear me? Naziah's missing file sat there for over a month. And it was because of the other family members that did not live in that home making a stink about it. Why hasn't anyone called anybody? Is what prompted them to get on the ball, to call the police station. This is what happened. This is what we know. This is what we've been saying, and nobody's doing anything. Well, after they made such a stink, after they protested in front of the police department went to this resource office of the Detroit Public School System and said, give me that. Give me that. At which time, though, Mr. Dudunt is gone. He's gone. He's on retirement now. Oh, baby, we gonna get there, precious boo. We gonna get there, baby. We gonna get there, boo. So, my point in mentioning the resource officer is because Granny, Auntie, for y'all to love her so much, for y'all to care about her so much, when nobody was, or bring in your phone, why aren't you making us think about it? Why did it take somebody who lived in another household, who's got their own family, husbands and kids, boyfriends and kids to deal with, life, work, whatever? Why did it take them to have to go and protest and make noise and bring their phones and in order for the police to get involved. Because I dare say, in my opinion, that's why you went to the school and not the police department. That's why you went to the school and not the police department, because you didn't want that stink to be made, because you didn't want that investigation to be done, because you thought that Naziah was going to be another black or brown baby to just be swept away. Nobody say nothing. Her mama's off living a life of addiction. The aunties is off flat backing, okay? Just flat backing. Y'all know what it mean. Ask your auntie or your grandmother. Flat backing, okay? Granny up in her room with the door closed, safe and secure, that the refrigerator got freaking chains on it, like Precious said. Because I dare say that's where all the good stuff was. Yeah, they got the water and the hot dogs and the bologna and the other little rink-dink. But that black side-by-side joint, yeah, it had a dog chain with a padlock. Not just one of those refrigerators that you buy and it comes with a key that you can lock it. No. Exactly, boo-boo. Who chains up a fridge? Like, really? Exactly. Exactly. The only reason, I'm going to keep it a beam with y'all. The only reason I would lock up my fridge or my freezer is if I shared, as if I lived in a multi-dwelling home, where there's an upstairs or downstairs or a side-by-side, but the basement was one big place that we had to share space, and that's where that appliance was, and I suspected that my neighbor was going eating my food. That's the only reason why, but not a fridge or a freezer that's sitting in my kitchen. That's the message I'm going to send to the children that I want to believe that I love them. Every time they walk into the kitchen, they see a big ass dog chain on the refrigerator. And do y'all know that one of the flatbacks tried to justify that on her Facebook page? You know what she said? It's not illegal. Who the hell? What the? Lord have mercy. I dare say the space is occupied by more air than it is brain matter. Y'all, listen. It's not illegal. That's what you're concerned about? A whole lot of stuff that's not illegal should be. Are you kidding? Just like a whole lot of people that should have been in prison and therefore Naziah would still be here are not in prison. Y'all being namely the ones I'm talking about. Your nasty flat-backing self should have been in prison for what you did to your younger family members when you were younger. And I dare say, what the hell happened to you that's got you doing that to other family members, to other children? What the hell happened to you? You nasty, flat back, ugly whale. What happened to you, girl? What else excess did your mother allow in that house? And then the grandmother sat up on the stand. Oh, y'all, and told lies. Lies. Oh, no. Jarvis doesn't come in the house. He sits out in the car and the kids will run out there, or Shannon will run out there. What? Girl. Then Shanny gets on the stage and said, I mean, on the stage. Yeah, because it was. I said that yesterday. It was indeed a stage. It was. They were performing. Shanny gets up there and says, he only comes in the house if I'm there. That's the lie Miss Desperado had to tell herself. That's the lie she had to tell herself. Because I dare say there were text messages between Naziah and the monster where he's clearly saying, she's saying to him, we just left. He's saying to her, I got your panties. She said, you better not be in my room. He said, well, I got them. So if they just left, how he there? Oh, okay. I'm just saying. I dare say that there were times when the monster and Naziah would be together in that house and them flatbacks didn't know about it. Because she would say, just act like you're going to the bathroom. Yeah. Or there would be a dialogue between them where it's, where we gonna do it at? In the basement? See, so the gaslighting, no. It went so far beyond gaslighting, it turned into straight lies. Because y'all, a video footage came out of this nasty thing that should have been flushed down the toilet shows up at a birthday party. Yeah. You know how the grandma said he don't come in the house. Yeah. He shows up at a birthday party. And when I tell you both of them flatbacks bust they behinds trying to get around that table to get over there where he was at. When I tell you one of them flatbacks like to launch one of them kids across that table, moving them up out the way so she could slide her flat ass behind them to get over there before her mama did. But her mama beat her there. I'm sorry, y'all. I ain't never jumped up to get to my son-in-law. I ain't never. I barely jump up to hug my sons, whom I love dearly. I love them dearly. I am utterly my son's greatest fans. I am. I am in love with all of my children. I ain't never broke my neck to get to them. Hell, they in the house. They ain't going nowhere. Do I love on them? Do I hug them? Absolutely. Me and my daughter still kiss each other on the cheek. That's my daughter. That's a fact. Yeah. But I ain't breaking my neck to get across the table, get across the room to them. Now, I did when it was time to put belt to ass. Yes, I did. Broke my neck to get to them. Come here. But a son-in-law, no, I'm not breaking my neck. Do I get up to greet? Absolutely. Breaking my neck? No, ma'am. No, sir. But this is the same wench that sat there up on that stand and said, no, he didn't come in the house. Shannon said, oh, yeah, he'd come in if only if I was there. Another thing that Shannon said during the prelim, she said they asked her, what kind of relationship does the monster and Naziah have? She didn't say, well, we're not married, so they really don't have a relationship. She didn't say, well, I suppose, they okay, they cool because she do go up to the shop to help clean. She didn't say that. She said, and I quote, it should only be a uncle and niece relationship or niece and uncle relationship. It should? Okay, girl, that implies that it's not. And why isn't it? Can you clarify that, or are we going to wait till the trial? Oh, wait, the trial's not happening. Right, because Michigan offered a diabolically disgusting roach of a pedo a plea deal. In this plea deal, y'all, I dare say that one of the charges said something about commercial activity. What does that mean, y'all? What does the commercial activity mean to y'all? To me, it means that he wasn't the only one. To me, it means that he was making money off of Naziah. I could be wrong, and God knows I hope that I am, because just he was enough damage done for that baby to have to struggle with. God knows he was enough. Now, in this whole trivial case, many girls have come forward right after he was officially, now he was arrested and held as a person of interest. But let's be clear, Michigan, it is not lost on us that the reason why he was actually in custody was because y'all were going to take him into custody anyway due to that parole violation. Y'all were going to do that anyway. So even though he was taken into custody when he went back to court to answer to that, they didn't officially charge him with Naziah for months. It was months later. And by the time they did, this story had gotten out and around. And some girls who had never said a word or uttered a complaint to the right authorities started coming forward. God bless them. God bless them because they had to relive it. Some people tried to discredit them because they were 8 years old when it happened and now they're 20. And because they didn't remember every detail, people are sad, man. People are really, really sad that they would turn around and re-victimize who were babies when it happened. And now they're young ladies telling their story. Did y'all know that at that prelim, one of the flatback daughters gave a testimony of what she saw? Oh, so we ain't going to be calling these babies no liars. That's not what's happening here. She said what she saw with her brave self. She said it. And by God, her father tried to get to that monster. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that came out later on. The reason why everything was cut so short, number one, because the baby was being protected while she was giving her testimony. And she was younger than Neziah. And number two, because the father lost it. The father lost it. And he tried to launch across that room at that thing. That swamp lizard. He tried to get to him, and God knows I wish he had. Because he probably would have torn him limb for limb. And he would have deserved every bit of it. You've got girls walking around with trauma that they'll probably never live out. They'll probably never be able to fully trust anyone because their mothers or their who was supposed to be their protectors allowed this stuff to happen. One of the testimony was that my mother went and sat on the couch when he told me to come here. What? The night that Neziah went missing, the investigators pinged his cell phone. And apparently they started it from earlier that day till the next day. So from the 9th until the early mornings of the 11th, they pinged his phone. And when I say they had that creep all the way from downtown Detroit, all the way to Ypsilanti, to the River Rouge, on 7th Mile in Berg, all these different pings is happening. And I'm talking clock in the morning. Clock in the morning. He's just out there. Borrowing baby mama's vehicles, bringing it back, tow up. She go up there the next day to see if he can do something about the damage he did to her car. Her son playing with a pair of clear rimmed glasses like the ones Neziah was wearing in that last picture, and he grabbed them from him. And she said, well, damn, whose is that? Oh, that's my son's. Because, see, he had borrowed the car under the premise that he needed to go do something with his son. We never heard throughout the 2 years of this whole fiasco that he ever did anything with his sons. Never. Not saying he didn't. I'm saying we never heard about it. Did I tell y'all that Jarvis was 42 years old? And Neziah was 11 when it started? So let's just say Jarvis was 40 years old and Neziah was 11. I dare say that with those text messages, you could tell that he was playing in her face. He was manipulating her. He was gaslighting her to the point where this baby, 13 years old, was 12 years old and 11 years old, was begging him to respond. Him being an adult and thinking his raggedy behind was some kind of player, he would just let her beg for minutes at a time. Just Texas and Texas. He just let her beg. And then wouldn't this nasty McNasty come out and say, I just want my DS. You understand what I'm saying? This is all in text messages. It's all in text messages. I just want my DS. And she'd say, well, that's what I plan to do. So I guess at this point she like, well, that's what I plan to do, but you acting funny, so forget you. And other times he would say, can I get it, please? And she'd say, well, yeah, when you coming over. So I don't want to hear that nobody knew. I don't want to hear that. Y'all knew y'all was sending this baby and other babies from that household to that shop. The one baby girl testified that they always went. Shannon testified that her and Jarvis, Naziah and Jarvis didn't text. Then she corrected herself and said, well, wait, there was this one time. There was this one time that Naziah said, can you ask Jarvis if he wants us to come up there? Yeah. She's trying to act like that's the one time that she knows of. But hold on, though, because they called her bluff. This is one time when they didn't just leave it stagnant. The prosecutor said, the assistant said, can you read this for me right here? And I'm paraphrasing, but the text message said something to the effect of, now I see, and I'm done with you. And she made the comment, you can miss me. What'd she say? You can pass it. That's what she said. You can pass it. And everybody was wondering, well, what does she mean by and you can pass it? And I tried to tell people that's just lingo for, kiss my AZZ, or, don't talk to me no more. Like, I'm done with you. Like, miss me with all the bull ass. You know what I'm saying? That was nothing. People was trying to put a whole lot of weight on you can pass it. Well, what does that mean? And try to make something nefarious of it. There was nothing nefarious about that part of that statement. She was simply saying, I know what I know. You can't lie to me no more. And you could just miss me with all this bull crap right here. That's all she was saying. But I dare say she's a freaking liar. She always knew. Hell, she was cut from the same cloth. She knew. But I dare say, in my opinion, that the flatback knew that Naziah was the only thing bringing Mr. Fine, yellow skin with the good hair, darkening her doorstep in the first place. There was even a text message between he and Naziah where Naziah said, well, go on and give her what she wants so you come down here and lay down with me. What? Yeah. Naziah was bossing up. Naziah was like, look, okay, I want a cuff tonight. Okay, I want you to hold me while I'm asleep. Once I fall asleep, you can leave. I won't know. Well, Shannon wants some, and I don't want her, is what he said. And she said, well, go and give her what she wants. And come down here and hold me. Come on now. Come on now. When I say disgusting, y'all, utterly disgusting. And so to drive it home, what Michigan thought was a good idea, even though in the span of a year, she's been missing since 2024. But all of 2025, and I believe some of 2024 too, I might be mistaken. I think it was some of 2024 too. Babies is coming forward. Babies is coming forward with their mamas. They're not babies anymore. They are indeed young women. It happened when they were kids. It happened when they were babies. But now they're young women. And they're given their account. And he's being charged. And he's being indicted. And right when the court case was supposed to start in this month, it got prolonged because 3 or 4 more than came forward. And transcripts is getting paid for and brought up and all of that kind of stuff. So then the court case gets, pushed off even further. Now it's more months. It went from June to October, from October to February. And then this month is when we find out about, well, it had been speculated, and I dare ask, I wonder how people knew this. And it's because it was getting leaked. Come on now, ain't nobody stupid. The information was getting leaked that a plea deal was indeed on the table. And some content creators was like, that's a lie. He ain't getting no plea because he did this, that, and that. Well, just because that's what he did doesn't mean that he won't get offered a plea. See, a lot of people, they conflate the two when sometimes one thing has nothing to do with the other. Like, come on, y'all. You can't say that he won't get a plea because this happened. You can say you hope he don't get a plea because clearly he got a plea. And in that plea, it states that certain charges would be dismissed. The one charge that stuck was the second-degree premeditated. No, not even premeditated. Second degree, because premeditated would be first. They dumbed it down to second degree. I thought I wrote it down. Maybe I didn't. They dumbed it down to second degree murder. And as long as he gave a true statement about Naziah, he would get the plea deal. Yeah. Nothing about you have to tell us where she is. No. Nothing about what did you do to her? Nothing about none of that. Nothing about any of that. They did list the court cases that the other indictments, they did. And so I have it here. Withdraw notice to enhance sentence, habitual offender, fourth offense notice, mandatory 25 years. They dropped that. Okay? They dropped that. He is being, the plea deal is for one count of homicide, murder, second degree. They are dropping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other cases. And for that one count, he's been given 35 to 60 years in prison. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. That ain't good enough. That's simply not good enough. That is not justice for each and every one of these babies. People talking about, well, at least the girls get justice. How? Where do you see these girls are getting justice? This Nasty has been doing this most of his life. Most of his life he's been doing this. So you tell me, where does all of these babies, because they were babies when it was done to them, where do they get justice? I'll just start there. Where do they get justice, huh? Please hit the like button. Please hit the like button, y'all. It's free. You're here, you're listening. Hit the like button, boo. Where does Naziah get justice? Because see, and I'm not taking nothing from these babies, but they're here. By God, they are here. Where's Naziah? Oh, and wait a minute. Where's Naziah's baby? Where's Naziah's baby? So how is Naziah getting justice? That 35 to 60 years, that's not Naziah's justice. No, it's not. No, it's not. I dare say they need to bring back the penalty. Michigan needs to, a whole lot of states, needs to bring back that ultimate penalty. Because, man, listen, it's a whole lot of monsters walking around Michigan, man. A whole lot. A whole lot. Where is she getting justice? Where is Naziah Harris getting justice? How? How do y'all figure Naziah Harris is getting justice? Because it's 35 to 60? That's not justice for her. They're putting all of it in one cup and making them drink it. But they suffered the violations of this monster alone. So why can't they get their justice individually as well? It's not right. And the violations that family allowed to take place with these babies in that home or elsewhere means that they didn't protect them. They affected them. They infected them with the struggle that these babies will have to live with for the rest of their lives. One of his daughters, who have, since a certain video came out of his grimy, slimy self escorting her out the door, on which day I believe is her prom date, came out and said that he did her too. Sir, I dare ask, what make you think you got the right to escort me anywhere? You don't have that right. But he was so diabolical that he even had the nerve, the audacity to look his daughter in the face after that. And now she's grown. What did you think? She forgot? Or did you not care? Did you just simply not care? Because how dare you? You already took her innocence. And you could tell she was so uncomfortable. You could just look at the footage and you could see she was so uncomfortable. But she was busy protecting him. So who was there to protect her? Who was there to protect Naziah? Who was there to to protect the other babies in the house? Who was there to protect those other babies outside of that house, but in somebody else's house? He was violating babies in his girlfriend's homes, babies that wasn't his, babies that was his babies that was brought over there for him to keep safe because this particular mother had fallen on hard times, but she was not going to subject her daughter to the struggles that she was going to have to go through in order to get back on her feet. So she sent her baby to Jarvis. This is in documents, y'all. I'm not making it up. This is in this baby's words. She's an adult now. And she said, my mama sent me to my father's so that I didn't have to be with her while she's going through what she's going through to better our lives. And while I was there, my father did this to me. What? She said she spoke to him about it later on and asked him, how could you? And all this lopsided swamp lizard could say to her is, I'm sorry. No. You say I'm sorry when you bump into somebody by mistake. You say you're sorry when you sweep the floor and you mistakenly swipe somebody's foot with the broom. My bad, I'm sorry. It's not I'm sorry when one of your victims come to you and look you in your face and say, why did you do that to me? How could you do that to me? I'm your daughter. And all you could muster up with your cowardly ass is, I'm sorry. So, the terms and conditions of his plea deal, and I quote, no contact with Annette Harris. Why that was specified, Tootie reacts, I'm with you on that, babe. Because Tootie said the same thing. Like, what makes her so significant? Right? What makes the grandmother so significant? No contact with Annette Harris or any other family members of the Harris family. And it says he has to agree to provide truthful statement regarding the body of Naziah Harris. A truthful statement could be, and at this point, how would they prove it, right? So a truthful statement could be, last time I saw her was at blah, blah, blah. A truthful statement could be, I don't know where Naziah is. I don't know where Naziah's body is. Because how are they going to prove it? See, it's the play on words for me. It's the playing with people who care about this case. For me, Michigan, what do you mean a truthful statement regarding the body of Naziah Harris? Why not? You have to tell us where she is so that we can recover her and give her a proper burial. Why not that? Why not? Why are you leaving so much ambiguity, so much room for questions and all of that? Why not? Why are you doing it the way that you're doing it, Michigan? And he has to pay any restitution and fines and court costs and all of that crap. I don't agree, and hundreds of us agree that Naziah Harris and these other babies are not getting justice. They're not. Because you don't get to run his punishment concurrent when their violations were consecutive. You don't get to do that. Their violations were one after another, after another, after another, and again and again, and repeat and repeat and repeat for at least 20 years. So you don't get to conflate my justice with somebody else's. They didn't get to feel my pain. I didn't feel their pain. Why they can't have their justice by themselves? That's just not right. And so while I put this to a close, all I want to say is, Michigan, y'all ain't right. Y'all ain't right. These babies are not getting justice. These ladies are not getting justice. You women need to do better. Mothers, y'all have got to do better. We cannot keep being so desperate that we're turning a blind eye to what's happening to our babies. It ain't that much love in the world. It's just not. Especially when we are allowing violations of something that we give life to. As I stated earlier, I'm going to go live later. I'm going to leave this case with God. Today, this story belongs to a 13-year-old girl named Naziah Harris. Naziah should have been protected, but instead was abused and exploited by the very people meant to keep her safe. Her abuse didn't come from a stranger. It came from home. What happened to her did not require darkness, as I said before, in order to exist. It only required permission from adults who failed her and from the systems that didn't listen. If you're carrying something after this, you're not alone. I love you guys. Be blessed.